computer. Okay, we're recording. Here we are. Welcome everybody to BioTouch. And why don't you mute yourself so it doesn't get the background, otherwise it picks up different things. Mute salad, there we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about BioTouch and how to use it with the family, but we have some pretty fun little things here. If you want to say something, just unmute yourself. You can interrupt us, it's not a problem. But we have a couple of little polls that we can do. This is a fun part of doing Zoom. So the first one we're going to launch here is, and it's all anonymous, so we don't know who's answering what, but the poll is, as you can see, how do you feel you're dealing with family stresses? So just click one of those, quite well, need help, or losing it. And then we'll show you what the polls are at the end of that one. And once everybody's done that, we'll show you what the poll is, end the poll, and share the results. Woohoo! 100% doing right on. So that's great. That's good to hear. Bev, you can unmute yourself because you're going to be talking here. So that was a fun little thing. And then we're going to do one other question that we want to do is what it is that you feel are the top issues that you would like to address or that you're dealing with in your family. And if none of those are on there, then that's great. But let's just pick the top two that work for you, if you're dealing with any of them, but no more than two. What issues are you dealing with in your family, if any of those? And we'll just give you a minute there. Okay, everybody done? We'll show you what we got. And so the top ones are attention problems and sinus infections. That's interesting. Those are the two we probably thought. We got some tummy issues, growth pains, and ear infections. Those are all good. So we'll just deal with a couple of them on today's program. But these are fun to do, and we hope to do more of them. We know that this is a particularly important topic, and we're going to let Bev start us why we feel this is an important topic. And hopefully we can do it again. We're also taping this so we can share it with other people. So take it away, Bev.
Okay, well, I'm glad you guys are here. This is our first webinar.
Second webinar.
Huh?
It's our second webinar.
Well, this is our first one that we're actually dedicating to the family.
Right.
That's I should be more clear with that. and basically, the thinking I've had for a long time is that the structure of our society is our family. Everything comes from that. All our value systems and our learning environment and how we relate to others. This is that whole arena. And so we have said for the whole 31 years, Paul said, BioTouch needs to be in every family, because we recognize that it has the ability to not just make bodies better, but it actually changes and helps to offer self-awareness and growth on other levels. And so what better place for BioTouch to start with taking all that into consideration than in the family. So we are really wanting to take advantage right now of families being more together, and thought this was a great opportunity for us to really begin to offer these kinds of webinars. And so, like I said, tonight's kind of our virgin voyage here, but I'm hoping that this will really start we can repeat this on a regular basis, because we know that BioTouch has the power to change the individual and the family structure, because people get to come together, work together, share, and care about each other. And I think if BioTouch could have a chance to get into more families, we would see a different family structure beginning to emerge. I really believe this is part of what we really need to go in that direction. So we're very honored to be a part of that, and that's my spiel. Yep. Paul, you're muted.
Idiot.
There you are.
So, you know, it's also, this is like a perfect time to, it's sort of like we really wanted to do this during this time because we're stuck at home. And this is, if we can't get it out there now, then we're going to lose this opportunity because people are, they're at home. You know, a lot of states are still in lockdown, or, you know, if not in lockdown, they're still saying, hey, you know, stay home, you know, don't go out a lot, you know, especially if you're over the 60 crowd or 65. But people are, they're starting to step out a little bit in the, you know, yeah, there's a few of us over 65. And so it's a perfect time to get it there, you know, because people are more attentive now, and to bring this love into the family and expression of that without having to be philosophical about it or talk about energy, modality, and just keep it at that touch level, because anybody can identify with that. And it doesn't even matter, I think, as you were saying, Jeff, that that people have to even recognize something's happening. They don't have to be aware that, you know, like when some people get worked on by other techniques, they go, oh, did you feel that? Or did you not feel that? You know, it doesn't matter if you feel it. It doesn't matter if the little boy running in the background is, as Julie's told us, you know, and all you want to do is get their attention for a second, you know, even if you have to sort of grab them by the neck and do the greeting, which I've done before. There's this moment of, everything's okay. And Bev and I talked about it on the show last Monday. It makes everything okay, even if it's just for a moment. And if we build on those moments, I mean, at least what I've seen in 31 years of doing this, things change. And we might not even notice they're changing, but they will change. And the research and the scientific data actually shows that it changes, just if nothing else, in stress levels, cortisol levels, and immune system responses. It builds the immune system. And I've been listening to a lot of stuff about what people need to deal with during this time to keep the immune system strong across the board. I mean, everything I hear is about stress. It's all about stress. We live in stress, we live in fear, we live in anxiety. And the whole idea that I keep hearing over and over, no matter what avenue I listen to, we've got to help our bodies reduce the stress that our mind keeps creating. And BioTouch is just a perfect way to do it, because it's not about having to focus yourself or get rid of stress or get rid of fear. It's about just meeting it, living in it, and touching another human being and honoring our fear, honoring our stress, honoring our attention deficit, honoring our sinus infections. If we honor these things, then the body will begin to change, because when you honor it, it's like we've talked about all the time, we're just loving that person for who they are, even with all their faults and diseases and viruses. I just saw a great presentation that we are made up of viruses. The human body was created from viruses. So, you know, to be able to reach out and touch another human being as an expression of loving this virus, that might be the only way to get rid of it. Love can change things. So any questions so far? Comments, thoughts? So we have another question here, which I already know the answer with. Oh, did I share the results of those? I did? Okay. So stop sharing that. And I sort of know the answer because we got the answer from Jeff, but we'll ask it anyhow. Have you already practiced BioTouch? Yes or no? Boom, boom, boom. And we got Don coming in. We know he's practiced it. And we'll end the polling and share the results. There you go. 100% of us have practiced BioTouch. So that's good. I mean, that's nice to hear that we've all practiced BioTouch. And the key is, you know, how frustrating has it been? Hello, Don, how are you? Well,
Hi, Paul.
good to see you. So, you know, the fact that we've all practiced it, now the key is how can we as a small group of people here start to not just practice a little bit, but make it part of our life. You know, that's the key, how to make it part of our life so that we can start sharing it with other people, so that the next time we do a webinar, each of us here, you know, get a couple of other people to come show up. And this is how it's going to change is, you know, one person sharing it with another, and it's that chain which will go on indefinitely. So, okay, we're getting some background noise. There we go. So, in that case, since we mostly all know about BioTouch, Bev, you got anything else to say here before we start teaching some things?
No, not really. I think you pretty much covered it, Paul.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments? I mean, how do you feel? I mean, we're a small enough group. You know, what do you think about getting BioTouch more into the family structure? Go ahead, just unmute yourself and put yourself on the spot.
It's all good.
Come on now, you're all.
Well, I think it's something to pursue, and I have a son who's a surgeon, and I'm a big user of essential oils and some other things. I've used Nambudripad, allergy elimination technique in the past, and he is one of the few Western medical people that is open to whatever works.
Good.
So, and he has 4 kids, so
Wow.
you know, I'd love to see him take it up, and I have somebody in mind who I think would love to learn this stuff, and then she's here on Maui, so I will introduce it to her.
Nice.
Perfect.
And that's nice. One of the most amazing proponents of this technique when we were in Northern California was a medical doctor, and he had learned it haphazardly because his wife had the seminar, but he tried it in his office with some of his patients. And I mean, he had his nurse had an allergy attack and that went away, and he had a guy that he was getting ready to give a script for an operation for his shoulder. It couldn't get it past here, and he said, let me try it. And he did it right there in the office. And the guy within 5 minutes was raising his arm above the head. So he actually brought us up to Northern California to open a center. And he got to the point where he wouldn't write people pain scripts anymore unless they tried BioTouch. And it was funny because he started losing a lot of patients. That was 20 years ago.
Hey.
So,
At least he, trailblazer.
That's exciting about your son. Yeah.
It really is.
That would be great to see him move into the functional integrative medicine approach with something like BioTouch. What's nice about it is he can give it to his patients. It's not like he has to do it. And that's the whole goal here. He doesn't have a lot of time. So anybody else thoughts about how this would be beneficial in the families?
Hi, this is Sally. I think it would make families closer together in this time of everybody working. To start the day or finish the day with a little BioTouch will make that connection that may be hard for some to do. I keep hearing people are not even sitting down together to eat anymore. This might be a way to bring that back to a more loving, cohesive family group.
Yeah,
I certainly think so.
I think so too, Sally.
That would be a great thing to do. You sit down to dinner and do the greeting at dinner. So,
Some people say a blessing, some people do BioTouch.
you know, and I really believe BioTouch is like a blessing or a meditation
Yeah.
or a mantra or a chant, whatever it is that you do. And the nice thing is it moves across all distinctions and differences, whatever religion, philosophical belief system you have. So it works because it's addressing the body. And we've talked about that before, Bev and I. You know, the body is the one thing that is common for all humanity, no matter where you go on the planet. That is the one thing that's common. So BioTouch really is the technique of humanity, you know, and we're going to share it. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to share the screen with the computer. So as you all know, that's our manual. And this is the ebook version of it. So I don't know if you all have it. If not, and you're a member, then you can download this at any time. And it goes through the whole manual in a PDF version. And so what we want to share with you and practice with one another, if you got somebody sitting next to you, great. The dilemma is always a really nice thing to see, to read if you haven't read it yet, about taking a chance. Taking a chance. Only a person who takes risks is free. And if you haven't read that yet, it's really quite nice. And our preface, this is our only thing that we actually have that's philosophical. You know, this is our whole philosophy. It's our whole philosophy. It's our whole idea. This is all you got to, you don't even have to know this. And Bev and I go over this every Monday. We take a little paragraph out of that, and it's only the preface and the epilogue that really talk about anything that would be considered, well, why do you do this and what's it all about? And it's all right there in one page. So if you haven't read that yet, study it, and we'll give you a test later. So all of you have already done BioTouch, so you already know anybody can do it and everyone's effective. So Jeff, about your son there with 4 kids, oh my God, it would be great to see those kids working on daddy. One of the things we've talked about recently is the importance of a parent to say to their child, I need your help. Can you help me? We don't talk to our children like that. And children want to be needed. And to be able to say to our children or our grandchildren, Jeff, you know, just, I need you to help Grandpa. You know, I need some help here, and I'm going to show you something to do. And to watch them be able to touch their elders and their grandparents, and the thought of that to me is mind-boggling, the power of that. And it's a complement to any healthcare practice. Anybody can do it. There's no levels. That's what makes BioTouch really distinguishable from other healing techniques that have levels. You have to put yourself in a certain state of mind. You have to believe in it. You have to have an intention. And all those things aren't necessary. So again, to remember, we wash our hands before every session. Not a problem during the COVID-19 time. You got to wash your hands 20 million times a day. So it works really well. It's always one person touching another. People always want to know, well, can you touch yourself? Well, you can. It can't hurt, but it's consistently most effective when one person touches another. We always begin with the greeting, which we're going to go over. We use the index and middle finger of each hand. We touch on the skin. That's the most effective, consistently most effective way to do it. And it's a butterfly-like touch. Touch yourself. Just lightly on the skin, like a butterfly. And that's the only amount of pressure that we use to do the technique. So again, all that's right here for people who've never even seen the technique. They can read this. We've sent this out to many people who've been able to learn just from this manual. The terms are just a way that we talk to people. But then let's go ahead and learn the greeting here and just sort of remind ourselves how to do this. And we do have a 21-day challenge where we're asking people just do the greeting with one another for 21 days. Kai's running this 21-day program. We know that if you do something for 21 days, you create a new habit. So imagine just doing the greeting with somebody else, or just thinking about doing it to them and having them think about doing it to you. A new habit would be created, one of healing. And let's show you that through the video just so you can see it.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same 2 fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. More than one associate may work with a recipient provided that all of the associates perform the greeting. If the associate or the recipient leaves the session, or if someone who hasn't done the greeting touches either the recipient or the associate, the greeting must be re-established. Then the session may proceed from where it was interrupted.
It's always really nice to see that because it's a family. So if nothing else, you could share that with people, you know, just, you know, you could take that page, if you have your ebook, click on it, and we don't have a problem if you just take that link and share that with people so they can see families doing it. That woman almost died from liver cancer, and we worked with her before they did a major operation, and the whole family got into doing BioTouch because she got so much better. You know, she was supposed to be in the hospital for 6 weeks, got out in 6 days because we were right there with BioTouch right in the beginning, and we didn't get in the way of her standard protocol. But the whole family got healthy and happy just by doing BioTouch. So that's an exciting video.
That is a great, you know, I just want to say that's one of the other things about this family unit. How many times have, whether you're a child or the spouse or whatever, the grandparent, been on that journey, going through that process of disease or sometimes terminal with another family member and feeling totally helpless. Can you imagine a little kid, mama's having a migraine, and he actually can help his mom to feel better? That's just, wow. That's an amazing gift. I think this is why it's so incredibly important to get this to the families, because Sally said it too. This is a caring, loving thing that every single member of the family can do and really participate in that whole scenario, whatever it is, even if it's just a headache. But if it's something more than that, to be involved with that and to be able to do something for somebody else is just magical. It's amazing.
So one of the key problems that we talked about was attention, you know, this attention span of the children. If all you can do is the greeting, you're going to address that attention span. Guaranteed. I mean, I've worked in high school settings. Julie's practiced it with her young boy, and I've known lots of parents who, if just to get the greeting, there's this whew for a moment. And like Julie said, at least to get eye-to-eye contact, at least stop, I got something to say to you. And you're talking, well, if you're just going to work on the child, you're talking 15 seconds, you know, to do that 21-day challenge, to you work on somebody and somebody work on you. That's only 30 seconds out of your day. So I just hope that we create a new thought pattern where we start thinking, you know, I'm worth 30 seconds. My family's worth 30 seconds. It's a tough one. Yeah, we do a lot of other things. We just don't take 30 seconds to do things that possibly could change our life.
Yeah.
So, and then another thing that you could also do for this attention part of it, and I've got it set up here, is just doing on the headset A and A. And so we're going to share with you that, just the first part of it. And that one is here. And just doing the first step here.
The headset can be used to address conditions related to the brain. There are 4 steps in this set. In step 1, use through fire to touch points A and A.
Now find this on
Point
yourself.
A on the back of the head is in the center of the neck at the base of the skull. Point A on the front of the head is at the center of the forehead where the forehead begins to curve to the crown.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. And it's powerful.
It's all it takes.
Yeah.
Gets into that pituitary center and the pineal gland and the whole master gland in there. I mean, if you
whole
really,
frontal lobe.
oh yeah. And in fact, it's funny because, not funny, but I remember Jenny and somebody else, Paul Appleby, anybody who's talked about trauma, attention deficit disorder, autism, all these things, especially trauma response things, there's this disconnect between the frontal and the rear lobes of the brain. And so people don't have this sense of themselves in time and space. And every time I hear that, I'm like, oh my God, the A and A. I mean, talk about connecting the front and the rear lobes,
Yeah.
and bringing somebody into that present moment. So just by doing the greeting and just by doing A and A, which is phase 2 of our 21-day challenge, huge changes can happen as far as helping us live in that present moment in time and space. Okay, so then it's funny because I sort of had a sense we'd be talking about Sinus Set. So we're going to share with you the simple Sinus Set, and you can sort of follow along if you'd like here. And that one is right there.
The sinus set may be used to address any conditions affecting the sinuses. To begin step 1, first locate hold point X by following the bone right behind the ear down to its tip at the bottom of the skull and sliding the fingers back slightly.
If you practice it, we
X is
see
the
if you're
flat
doing it
area
right.
just behind the tip of the bone at the base of the skull.
Get real close to the ear.
Step 1 is performed in crossfire, so hold at X on one side of the head and touch points 1 through 3 on the opposite side of the head. Point 1 is just above the eyebrow where the brow and nose meet. Point 2 is the most prominent point of the cheekbone below the outside corner of the eye. Point 3 is below the inside corner of the eye where the nose and the cheek meet. Now find hold point X on the other side of the head and again in crossfire touch point 1 just above the eyebrow where the brow and nose meet. Point 2, the most prominent point of the cheekbone below the outside corner of the eye. And point 3, just below the inside corner of the eye where the nose and cheek meet. Step 2. In matching fire, touch points 1 and 1. Two and 2. 3 and 3. And X and X.
you know, just watching that is. So you can also, just so you know, you can do the extra sweeps, especially like in Tucson right now, we're all dying because the palo verdes are blooming and people who haven't had allergies before. So you can just sweep, especially going into the, all the way back to that hold point and then down into the throat where you get that drainage, or there's these lymph nodes that sit back in here. So you can get, you know, just that extra work. And there's no right or wrong way to do that. Just keep it light and keep it slow.
Yeah. You know, that's also good. You can also use this with like the ear set. You know how kids get these incredible ear infections, goes into their nose and into their eyes. This is the sinus set, because it's that all those cavities, and then you're working with those tubes that go down from the ears too. So that the sinus set is a good one to use, you know, for kind of like an overall thing, and using combination with other sets, of course, like I said, the ear set.
The nurse in me says, remember that the whole points are a sinus as well.
Yep.
So that matters too.
Right.
You recognize that that's sinus tissue. That helps you to understand.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Sally. That's true.
Thank you, Nurse Sally.
Thank you, Nurse Sally. Nurse BioTouch person.
But yeah, I mean, what I've always liked about BioTouch, I remember when I first met Norman 31 years ago, and whenever you would ask him questions or Carol questions, they always evaded it because they didn't want people to get into the physical of it. And yet, as you do it more and more, then you learn things like this, like Sally's like, oh my God, so that's why we do that, or that's why we, you know,
It happens.
this is the ANA. Oh my God, no wonder we do that. Or somebody tells you that this, you know, this is the vagus nerve, and you know, all of a sudden you're learning all this stuff, and you have to be careful because those things aren't necessary to know, but they're fun to learn it. We just have to be careful as we start teaching more and more people that doesn't become part of the necessities to learn BioTouch, because you don't gotta know nothing.
You don't got to know where anything is. Like
Yeah,
so.
and yet it's fun to learn all these little things after you've been doing it for 31 years. You're like, really? There's a sinus cavity in there too? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
so that was our short little webinar that we wanted to do. We did want to leave some room for questions or comments. So you can, I'll just unmute everybody here somewhere.
Or, you know, I also, if there's something that wasn't on that poll that somebody's really having an issue with, you know, this would be a good time to and we could help you figure out the set or sets that you can start using, you know, if there's anything going on right now with anybody.
Go ahead, Jeff, unmute yourself there.
Okay, I do have something, and it has to do with my hands. They are fairly arthritic. I've been doing some things, some exercises for them, but I don't know what sets are available for the hands.
Okay, well, that's moving into what we call local work. And I'll just show you here. Well, no, actually what we'll do is we'll just show you how to deal with that. So one of the things that we do is a metabolism set. If you write, let's see, we can.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
He's writing.
We can actually, that one we can show. Where are we here? Oh, no, that's not what I want. So you do the metabolism set, because the metabolism helps the body get rid of what it doesn't need and assimilate what it needs. So things like arthritis, even broken bones, scar tissue, joint problems, and pre-op, post-op kind of a situation. that's what the metabolism is good for. And it has two basic parts to it. And so we do have time here that we could show the video on that by going to, and then, so I'll show you the metabolism. But if you want to notice here on this back set,
Yes.
what we say here, you see this thing, upper extremities. So what that means is when we're working on anything in the hands or the arms or the fingers, any of this area down in here, okay,
Yes.
then what we want to do after we've done it, and we want to work on what we call local work, you want to take two fingers and put them right at that big bone area, right at the base of that neck, okay? Now here's where it becomes hard to work on yourself because you can't touch your own fingers. But then you want to take the other two fingers and touch on those arthritic fingers. So you got two fingers on the top and two fingers down on your hands, and then just work around the hands. Just touch each finger or touch the joint, or do those sweeps, that slow and deliberate movement across the affected area. If you're dealing with fingers, if you're dealing with legs, then you would work from down in this area, down in here, down to your legs. But any of those arm situations or shoulder situations can be done from that neck down into that area.
Okay.
And then just touch all around the really painful affected area. And then always doing the metabolism. And we'll just take a moment here to show it, because it's right in the beginning. So if you notice, every one of these pages has a link to the video, and you just click on that.
Yes.
And it takes you right to the video. It's a really nice setup.
Okay, good.
So
Yeah.
here's the metabolism set here, just to show you.
The metabolism set can be used to help the body assimilate what it needs and eliminate what it doesn't need. The metabolism set has 2 steps. Step 1 involves touching points in matching fire along the large muscles on the front of the neck. Points 1 and 1 are located above the collarbone in the soft indentations on both sides of the notch at the top of the breastbone.
Stay in front of the muscle.
Points 2 and 2 are halfway up the neck on the front of the large muscles. Points 3 and 3 are at the top of the neck on the front of the large muscles. The second step involves holding a point on the front of the body and touching points next to the spine on the back. Hold point X on the front of the body is on a line directly between where the nipples would be on a youth and is 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. Another way to find X is 1/3 of the way up the breastbone from greeting point 1 and 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. The points on the back are located next to the spine, forming a rectangle around the breakover point. The breakover point is where the bottom of the rib cage joins the spine and can be found by imagining a line directly through the body from greeting point 1. To perform step 2, find hold point X on the front of the body and touch points 1 through 4 on the back. Point 1 is approximately 1 to 2 inches up from the breakover point on the left spine muscle. Point 2 is directly across from point 1 on the right spine muscle. Point 3 is 2 to 3 inches below the breakover point on the right spine muscle. Point 4 is used to address blood sugar problems and is added to the other metabolism points when needed. It is located across from point 3 on the left spine muscle.
So again, you could do the finger part, just the local stuff, without doing that, just to get some relief. But then over time, like even once a week or something, that if you add that metabolism, it'll help that arthritic crystals break down and get out of your body,
Okay.
at least what we've seen.
Good. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I think, am I muted? No.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
good. We heard you. Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any comments, questions, thoughts? Okay. Then silence is golden.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being here.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you all
Sally.
for showing up.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for putting on the webinar.